Hello and welcome to episode 47 of my Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. I am KHM, and as you can see here, we have a rather interesting ship. It's another space station. And as you can see, we got all sorts of fuel on it. We got Xeon tanks, we got RCS, and regular liquid fuel. Although RCS and regular liquid fuel are kind of standard. But the Xeon tanks aren't. And if we look up here, we have this rather interesting little gizmo up here. I'll explain that in a moment. I have installed a few additional mods. Let's see, I have my list somewhere around here. Here we go. Okay, yes. I have installed a winch mod. Let's see. That adds, winches to the game. It's kind of interesting. I haven't played around with it too much. But could be useful for, sorry about that. Could be useful to help dock bigger ships. But anyway, yeah. Said I haven't played around with that too much, so I'm not entirely sure what it can do. Look pretty cool though, so should be interesting later on. I have installed Kethane mod, which adds these Kethane tanks and a oh yeah, I don't have any Kethane stuff installed on this. Well, that's not true. I have the Kethane detector installed up there. But anyway, so yeah, we have Kethane mod. And basically what this station here is for is this is going to go in orbit around the moon. And we are going to conduct some experiments with Kethane on the moon before to see if it's really viable for interplanetary missions. So we're going to play around with it on the moon, basically. Let's see, oh yeah, I have installed docking strut, which I have a few of them over here. I haven't really played around with them too much, so I'm not entirely sure how to use them yet. But basically what I gather is they are struts that you can connect and disconnect at will, basically. And so you can secure ships better when docking, which is something this game really needs. Because docking really isn't a secure way to attach ships. It's just the only way. Anyway, and I have also installed the ISA MapSat, which is this satellite dish here. And so, now to talk about this ship design as a whole. Down here is kind of the station. It will have its own engines, basically. I have this tank here so I can take small amounts of fuel accurately from refueling ships that come back after a Kethane run. See, I have Xeon tanks and RCS and regular fuel, so I can store all the different fuels that I could possibly need. Now, you'll notice that there's no Kethane tanks on here, and that's because I've determined that it's far more efficient to convert Kethane into whatever fuel you need on the ground, and then just take it up into the fuel you need up into space. So all the Kethane stuff will actually be on that. This up here is going to be a satellite, which we're going to put into a polar orbit around the planet, and it's got both the ISA MapSat dish and the Kethane detector, which will create a map of the moon and tell me where everything is. So let's get to it launching. Okay, I have lowered the apoapsis to 1,300,000, give or take. And now we're going to go ahead and point our ship prograde. Okay, and now we shall launch our satellite. Okay, and now we shall circularize. This way, the satellite will still have the very high apoapsis, and we'll be able to change its plane fairly easily. While we bring the ship down into a low circular orbit around the equator. And now let's watch it disappear. It's fun watching things fly away at high speeds. Okay, now this thing's in a nice low circular orbit. So let's actually go ahead and see, normal plus is what I'm thinking of. Have this thing point at one of the poles. North is preferable, but south works just as well. Okay, we are going to be pointing at North Pole. No real reason to be doing this at this time, just why not? Oh yeah, and we also need to extend the solar panels. Not that we really need that either, we have A to those nuclear generator things, so we should be fine. Although, you know, I'm going to quickly rename this. Rename to Lunar Station. Lunar Station 1. Perfect. Okay. And now we shall find our probe here. Oddly enough, we found the decoupler. Okay. Okie dokie. So let's go ahead and open up this thing's solar panels. Have a look. Ooh dear, we'll be in the dark most of the time. Oh well. Let's warp to our apoapsis. No, wait, hold it. Let's abort that. I should be playing with newer nodes right now. Actually, I should be... Okay, yes, we do have sun. Oh, that's a cool view. Or would be a cool view if the satellite wasn't in the way. Let's get rid of the user interface. Oh, that is sweet. Screenshot. Okay. Now then, let's get back to here. It looks like we will probably have sun for this, which is good. Nope. What are you doing? Okay, let's try this again. Add maneuver node. Okay, why is it doing that? We can figure out the rest, I guess, later. Okay. Go ahead and warp to our burn point. Now, note that we have 4 ion drives on this. No, stop, damn it. Oh well. 4 ion drives. Can be hard on the power generator. Okay, that seems to be a sustainable amount there. Okay, yes. And I have a docking port there just in case we need one. Lots of xenon gas for maneuvering. And I'll go ahead and fast forward through this. Okay, we appear to be there. Let's go ahead and remove this maneuver node. We actually passed perfect 90-degree inclination. That's okay, it's easy enough to get down back to it. Okay, and there we go. We have ourselves a nice, perfect, just about 90-degree inclination. So, let's go ahead and warp down to our para-apsis. Oh, that's cool. The heck just happened there? That was interesting. Okay. 50. And I'll go ahead and fast forward while we go through this. Well, that's interesting. I was expecting them all to be flickering when there wasn't enough power. Instead, one is off, one is flickering, and the other 2 are solid. That's pretty cool. Anyway, back to fast forwarding. Okay, we're now in a nice, relatively circular polar orbit. We don't need that anymore. Let's go ahead and point this thing rad minus. And let's go ahead and turn on... Was this button? Yeah, that was it. Show map here. Oh, that's interesting. Apparently it still has stuff from my, all from my, tests. Let's see. Current position on. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just let this run for a while. Over here we'll show the sources that it's detected. The ones that are currently on the map I don't quite trust because these are from my test. So I'm gonna let this run for a few hours off camera and let's see what it'll come up with. Alright, so I've let this thing run for almost 24 hours. And as you can see, we got ourselves a nice complete map here, and over here in the detection map, we see that we have this nice void space. And we are actually currently traveling through the void space, and it should be readily apparent as to the cause of it. Apparently the mapping equipment requires power. This thing is completely solar, and so everything shuts off when we go into the night side of the moon, and comes back on when we go into the day, which should be any minute now. But we don't really need too much more information. We got plenty to work with here. We found a few spots here around the equator, and surprisingly enough, it looks like there is indeed a Kethane spot here, which this line going this way was actually made in my test world. So that means that the Kethane placement is oh yeah, we're just getting power again. Ship pointed down. Okay, yes, and there's the sun. Anyway, so it looks like Kethane is persistent, not just between saved games, but also between, I guess, accounts or users, whatever. It's persistent. So we got Kethane in a couple of spaces here. Let's see. Looks like this is around negative 128. Let's look at 128 over here, just out of curiosity. There we go, so it's right around here. Okay, cool. Let's go over to the Space Center. And, let's go over to the vertical assembly building and load up the next spacecraft. Oops, that was the wrong button. I think I barely forgot to move that over, so cancel that. Come over to here. Test ships, vertical assembly building. Miner Mark II, I believe is it. Okay, that should do it. There it is. Load. Alright. And here's the ship. Not much to it. Because this thing will be on the surface, a small Kethane tank is about the best. We have two of these tanks here, the X200 tanks, rather than an orange one, because orange ones are fragile and these things are not. Also, this will give me a bit more control over fuel estimations. And we got a couple of Xeon tanks here, so that way we can refuel them while we're on the surface. As well as a fairly large RCS tank, which we'll need for docking and such. Also have a couple of nuclear generators. By the way, how nuclear generators basically work is you take some sort of nuclear material and basically you use it to like heat up water or some sort of gas and then push that gas through a turbine. It's not, well actually no, that sounds exactly like a nuclear reactor, but it's not. They're a lot safer, there's no chance of a meltdown or anything, and there's a lot wider of a range of materials that can be used for them, Whereas with like nuclear reactor, you can only use like uranium or plutonium, whereas with nuclear generator, you can use like depleted uranium, some other materials. They don't have to be fissionable. Okay, see, also an interesting little design note is you see this, these struts that I have, this strut arrangement at the bottom. I found that really stabilizes a rocket, since these smaller tanks here are a whole lot more sturdy and stable than these orange tanks. So putting them on the bottom allows it to handle heat a whole lot better. And putting these struts makes it so it doesn't wobble around at all. In fact, it's really steady during launch. So, let's go ahead and launch this thing. Okay, now that we finally have this rocket in orbit, let's switch over to the probe, or to the satellite. Okay, and let's have a look at its map. Show map. Say you got something around here. Okay, well, aim right for negative 128. 128. Switch back over to our craft here. And tell the landing autopilot to aim for negative 128. Now, so we don't have too much space junk, I'll go ahead and use this on the way down and deorbit it, basically. And I'll let MechJab do the landing, since it'll probably do a lot better job than I can, and it will be a lot easier on me. Had me worried there for a moment. Now to see if we're gonna fall over. Ah, shit, I think we are. Kill rope, kill rope. Oh, yes. We've stayed up. Okay. Well, now to deploy the drills and our solar panels to power them. Now if all goes well, yep, sweet, we're getting some Kethane. So I'll go ahead and tell this thing, click on this and tell this to make both liquid fuel and oxidizer. And I'll go ahead and fast forward while our tanks refuel. Okay, now I'll go ahead and disable the Kethane converter. Oops, I pushed the wrong buttons. See, no, I'm gonna want this. This out. Maximize, edit path. We're at 2, so we want to go up to, let's say, 3. And 4. Perfect. And 50-kilometer orbit. Alright. Now, engage. Okay, I'm going to tell this thing to make fuel while we're going. I'll try to turn this so that both of our solar panels are getting power. And I, amazingly enough, already had the camera pointed in the direction we needed to turn in. Okay. And I'll go ahead and fast forward until we are in orbit. Okay, now that we are in orbit again, I shall immediately tell this thing to land at target. And I'll go ahead and fast forward until we are on the ground again. Oh, stop turning. Kill rote. Okay. We are once again on surface. Go ahead and engage. No, yeah, okay. Now, the amount of fuel that we have left is how much fuel we will have to spare. So we get a little bit less than one of these full tanks that we could spare to an orbiting craft when we docked. That's pretty cool. It's quite a bit of fuel. Let's see. Oh. Actually, I think it's slightly more than one of these tanks that we could spare. Pretty cool. So, once again, I shall go ahead and turn on the converter and fast forward. Okay. Now the tanks are completely full. Let's go ahead and take off once again. And I'll go ahead and fast forward until we are in orbit. Okay. Shall go ahead and turn off the converter. Retract the solar panels. And we shall go ahead and start rendezvousing this ship here, or with the station. Well, surprisingly enough, we're already supposed to get fairly close to them. Come on, Doc. Yes! We're docked. Woot. Okay, cool. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer the fuel, and then I'll go ahead and land on the surface again for another Kethane run. Just make sure I can. Okay. Well, I'd say we've proven this is indeed a viable option, although I'm not quite sure how useful it will be for interplanetary travel. It would basically require a heavy lander to really take advantage of it, or at least to haul it up into orbit. Now, for the lander, to use it to refuel the lander itself, it's a viable option, and we could attach a system without too much of a problem to a much smaller lander. But to get it to an orbiting craft, we'd need a heavy lander. So, this has been kind of an interesting little experience all in all. The next planet I'd like to aim for is Eve, I believe. Yes, I believe it to be Eve. Yep, Eve. So we may take advantage of Kethane for the Eve lander. Might not. I'll have to think about it, play around with a few designs. But in the meantime, I am KHM, and we'll see you in the next episode.